Hello, welcome to Adobe Live. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If we haven't met yet, I am Jordan Danae Ellis, Community Manager for Adobe Express, and I'm so happy to be back here with Andy Lambert. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Jordan. Great to see you. Great to see you and great to be back here. So it feels like these weeks come round very quickly.
Yes, we definitely do. I am very excited. Today, we are going to talk about scheduling and posting your content to multiple streams, multiple platforms. So we talk a lot about social media and like what platforms folks should be on and the different strategies for different platforms. So today we're going to go into like taking your content and actually changing it or keeping it the same, and how to utilize the wide world of social media that we have at our fingertips.
Love it.
And also hi to everyone in the chat. We should have time for questions today. We don't always. Sometimes like we have so much to talk about and we really want to be able to answer as many questions as we can. So hey to Tom and Antoine and Karen. Thanks for letting us know where you're from. We have folks from San Diego and India and Paris and Colombia. So yeah, please keep saying hi in the chat. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them and I'll answer as many as I can.
Right then, so with that, should we jump into the slideshow and let's get going? So
yeah, sounds great.
In the way that we run this every single week, and these weeks seem to come around very quickly, don't they, Jordan?
They sure do.
Yeah, as you said, let's do a quick bit of intro as well. So I mean, I think for anyone that's joined these regularly, you know us already, so permit us to have like the 15-second boring bit where we intro ourselves. But Jordan, do you want to kind of set the context as to why you're here and why you're hosting these sessions? Because I think you've got a really useful context to set.
Yeah, I have a lot going on. So I do know a lot about Adobe Express, which is the platform we're talking about today. That is what I've been working on for the past year and working in the community space here. And part of the reason that I love hanging out in communities so much is because I have run different versions of 3 businesses over the past 12 years, a product business, a like media company, and a social media freelance business. And so I've done the very bootstrappy startup, like thank God for social media because I did not have an ad budget. So I have some personal experience in a bunch of different ways of how I have used social media and how it really is the reason that I had a side gig at all. So I can bring some very scrappy, grassrootsy tactics to the table.
I love it. And I think that's probably why we complement each other quite well. So yeah, I'm Andy. I'm one of the founders of a company called Content Cal, which was acquired by Adobe in December. And given the name of that business, Content Cal, as you might suggest, it was a social media focused software company to help people build and grow social media followings. And obviously we're building all of that functionality into Adobe Express, some of which you can find now under Content Scheduler. And really my jam is social media strategy. Anyone that's seen me speak before, that is the kind of thing. So that's why Jordan and I kind of complement each other quite well. And this topic I'm really interested in, because actually sometimes it's a bit of a contentious topic. We've spoken about it at really high level between Jordan and I on previous lives, but now we're really gonna like double down on it. And the reason I say multi-channel is a bit contentious, because quite often there's a bit of narrative whereby some people say, oh, posting the same thing across multiple channels, it looks a bit spammy. Can you use the same thing for multiple channels? Like, should it be different? All of these things like add to the kind of mental load of social media and add to the anxiety, add to that, oh, what should I do? Should I do or shouldn't I do this? It comes with a lot of weight of responsibility and pressure. And we really want to kind of like offload some of that pressure today and just go like, this is your choice to do it. I'm going to show you some data to prove why I believe multi-channel is actually a good approach, because it's going to help us grow our followings and grow our brand awareness much quicker. And then Jordan's going to really go into a live demo to bring some of like the strategic bits I'll talk about first through this, a few slides, bring it to life and really show you how, from a process perspective, using some of the tools that you have at your disposal to Adobe Express, how you can bring this to life. And that's the kind of nature of this session. And like we try and do this format each time as much as we can, which is like set a bit of strategy and best practice and then really get into the weeds of the detail as to how you can do it. So the importance of thinking multi-channel. So excuse, I'm going to give you 2 slides of like a lot of data. So I will give some narratives. So don't worry, you don't need to like squint at the screen
I'm
because
so glad because I saw this, deck ahead of time and I was like, I don't know what this means. So
just
thank you for explaining it to us.
don't worry, I'll give you the top level.
Great.
So yeah, this was released at the beginning of this year, and I think this is the thing that kind of frames this conversation is that the average worldwide user of social media between the ages of 16 and 64, which kind of takes into consideration pretty much the majority of the demographics that most businesses are trying to target. The average worldwide user has just over 7 social media accounts. They are on multiple. Goes up and down depending on which country you're in, but that is pretty much in the average. Ultimately, if we want to reach a wide range of people, those people are using multiple channels and platforms. And I think nothing demonstrates it better than this particularly nerdy slide. So this is even worse than the previous one in terms of numbers. So let me talk you through this one. And actually, to be honest, this is one of my favorite bits of social media data. So I think that probably says more things about me than anything else. But the point here is that this column here on the left-hand side, which is, it says unique to platform, the amount of users that are only on that platform, not on anything else, it is tiny. So it's under 1% in most cases. Mm-hmm. And that is a huge bit of information to take away, is that 99% of social media users are on more than one channel. And in fact, the average actually is about 7. But we can go even deeper into this data and start to think about actually how can we choose the channels we might want to publish to, right? Because we don't have to publish to all of them, but we can start to use more than one. If, for example, we major on LinkedIn, for example, let's use that because LinkedIn is my thing. And LinkedIn is actually a good example because LinkedIn is often seen as the social channel that's kind of a little bit dull, a little bit more B2B orientated. But I think this helps dispel that myth. And typically the demographics and mix of audiences are so widely spread across social channels. Those kind of slightly lazy classifications of social media channels just doesn't happen anymore. The demographics are so mixed. Anyway, let's look at LinkedIn. Not only 0.2% of those users are unique to LinkedIn. So if LinkedIn is your thing, that's how you're growing your business, it's worthwhile knowing that nearly 88% of LinkedIn users also are on Facebook and use it on a monthly basis. Looking at Instagram, 83%, and even going to the extent of TikTok, nearly 50% of all LinkedIn users are active on TikTok. That is massive, right? And you couldn't think of 2 channels that are more poles apart and, polar opposites, if I'm honest. So it really helps us rethink to go, actually, maybe some of the biases we had around, oh, my audience is only on LinkedIn. It's not necessarily a truism when you start to look at the information across them. It's the demographics are much more mixed. So really the takeaway here is that if we want to reach our audience, we need to be thinking multi-channel, and we can use information like this to help guide us to go, all right, if LinkedIn is our thing, we should also potentially roll in Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok into our strategy if we want to maximize reach. So that's my takeaway from this, but I'm conscious I've been talking lots as I
Well, I was
do.
just going to say too, we always get asked, there is a replay. So wherever you're watching this, you could watch it again. And also my pro tip is feel free to screenshot this if you want, because I imagine it is going to be not super easy to be like, okay, this is my platform and look at this graph and figure it out live. But yeah. I screenshot things all the time as a way to if you want to deep dive into your particular situation, I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, it's a great
That's my nightmare. Also, I mean, everyone knows analytics are not my thing, so I'm on the wing it camp. But I love that the data is here for those who are a little more strategic, I think, than I am.
Love it. And it's probably worthwhile at this point calling out our insiders group as well that you expertly run, Jordan. So for any questions, obviously put questions in the chat and we've got time to answer questions today. But if at any point you're like, actually, you know what, I need a bit of advice on my social strategy, just put it in insiders and, Jordan and I will happily come back to you.
Yeah, that's a great call. We have an Adobe Express insiders group on Facebook that we answer questions about the product a lot. But like you said, Andy and I are in there. So if you have questions about social media and strategy, I sometimes know more about that than I do about design things. Actually, all the time I do, I think. So feel free to ask those questions. We just want to be here to help. And Sean in the chat was talking about how many platforms he's on. He said 5 or 6 if you include Behance. And I'm curious how many social platforms everyone in the chat is in, if you want to let us know, just to see if people are really only on 1 or 2. I think it's a lot easier, and thinking about who your audience is, it's a lot easier to be on platforms than like run a business on one. So if you think about, you know, an average person who is just kind of interacting on a social platform with their friends and family, is a different level of effort than when you're trying to like manage a business too. So I think that makes a lot of sense that most people are on more than one.
So true.
Or lots.
So yeah, that complexity of like running a business on multiple, we're gonna cover that in a second. But I put this slide in. I only made this a few days ago because this came up in one of our, I think in the last live, was like, oh, do you have the demographic data across each social platform? I'm not going to go through this all right now, and I think we'll make these slides available, and I'll post them in the Facebook Insiders group as well. If it's possible at some point, it would be cool to share the link to Insiders in the chat if we haven't already.
I sure can do that right now. Yeah,
that would be cool.
Great call. Oh, actually, Sam's doing it. Thanks, Sam.
Oh, awesome. Love that. And I'll commit to uploading those slides into Insiders because there is a lot of stuff. But just to give you a bit of a high-level take on this, as I kind of talk through it at a very high level, I've organized the kind of main core 6 in order of how big they are in terms of their monthly active users, so people that log in every single month. Then we've called out the largest age group. 25 to 34 is typically the biggest age group across Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Skews a little bit younger on TikTok, as you'd expect. And this surprised me. I'm curious on your take on this, Jordan, and anyone in the chat as well. Look at the largest age group for Pinterest. That surprised me. I thought it would still orientate towards a younger audience. So 38% are falling into 50 to 64, which I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this before I add some.
No, go ahead. I have no. I am weirdly like I'm out of the loop on Pinterest, which is my bad. So I don't know why.
Cool. I think the interesting thing about Pinterest is that it has such different audience demographic, heavily skewed female, skewed slightly older, but it's a very intent-driven platform. Like 90% of all searches on Pinterest are brand orientated. Like I want to find, you know, a new eyeshadow or lipstick or table lamp or whatever. It's super intent-driven, and it's just fascinating that it has completely different audience demographics. So using this information here, depending on who you're trying to target, like to your point about target audience earlier, Jordan, you know, you can start to use some of the 4 slides that we've just gone through already to go, right, my audience are clearly across multiple platforms. We know that if we major, you know, let's say we focus on Pinterest, if we went back a couple of slides, this would be quite useful to help us understand, actually, if we are focusing on Pinterest, because our audience skew a bit older, actually, where else should we go? So unsurprisingly, 86% on Instagram and then Facebook. So we can start to really use this data to start to think about our multi-channel strategy based on the type of audience that we want to appeal to. So hopefully people find this really useful in terms of orientating your strategy correctly. Talking about orientating a strategy, we've spoken about this concept a few times, but I kind of wanted to bring this to life and to really think about, I'm curious to get your take on this as well, Jordan, because this is probably the bit that I think some people might not always share the same view, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, this is social. It's important to note that even though we're here talking about social media, this is our perspective based on our experience and context. It's okay if you're like, this isn't for me. So I just want to be clear about that, because you'll never catch us saying this is the only way to do it. This is a way.
Absolutely not. Right. I also just wanted to, everyone's answering in the chat, which is very cool. It seems like the 4 to 7 is like the main numbers. Oliver said 20, which I'm very impressed by. But we have, Stacy says 4, Karen says 7.
Wow. Go Karen.
Yeah, Ava says 7. So there's, lots of people are in the like 4 to 7 range, which means our chat is lining up with our stats, which is great.
Yeah, it definitely is. So let's explain what this kind of T-shaped approach to social media actually means. So line at the top relates to publishing, talking about going multi-channel. So we already know like the data justification for why, to reach your audience, it
Yeah.
makes sense to publish across multiple channels, because even if your audiences are on LinkedIn, we all know that when we post something on any social platform, it's only shown to a small proportion of our followers. So if we want to increase the likelihood that our content is seen, as we all do, then it makes sense to go wider on it. But of course, Jordan and I, if you've watched our content before, we're realists, we're pragmatists. So we tend not to suggest things that for ourselves we wouldn't do, because Jordan coming from a solopreneur context and I'm coming from like a small business startup context, we don't have infinite resources, so you only
Yeah.
really have to be smart and focused with the resources that you have. So I recommend publishing wide, but then the platform that you major on, the one that that you get the best interaction from, you get the best results from publishing, that's the one you go deep on, because that's where we know all the goodness really is. Publishing is a part of the process, of which is really, the magic happens when collaborations happen, when you engage with people that comment on your content, when you engage in other people's content and respond to comments, and you collaborate with other industry leaders. We're going to do a whole session on collaboration, because Jordan and I could speak 4 hours about that as a
Yeah.
topic. So
Well, I was going to call out too. It's fascinating. We are promoting similar things, like especially on, I don't know if this is relatable to anyone in the chat. I know it is. I'm running, I think, 5 separate profiles right now with because I just have, I have a personal account and I have an account for this stuff that I'm doing here with Adobe. And then I have my business account and, I'm running a lot. So the one that I'm running for the work we're talking about today, you and I have a totally different strategy, even though we're kind of doing the exact same job. Like, I only started posting on LinkedIn when we started doing these lives because I was like, oh, this is great. And we've done some other Adobe lives on LinkedIn. And like the chat is hopping. It's really cool. They're so like it makes a lot of sense, but I didn't use it for years before that. I'm basically only on Instagram as my like day to day. And we're kind of opposites where LinkedIn is like your home base and then
mhm.
you dabble in the other places. So just to say, I know you said it a lot, there is no right way. Like we're not even doing it the same way and we're here talking about the same strategy. So
Exactly that. And it's just really just think that it's okay, from my perspective, it's okay to go broad across multiple channels. You don't necessarily need to be living on every single channel, because we're really just trying to increase the reach and see it as an experiment all the time, to see actually, oh what, are we getting more traction on TikTok or Instagram? Great.
yeah.
And that might well orientate your strategy to double down on TikTok, and you might move the kind of depth bit here, you might move that into the TikTok column and go, right, I'm actually going to spend more time engaging with comments on TikTok and, engaging in other people's content, because I'm actually seeing better growth on TikTok. It's that nimbleness of approach can only really be facilitated if you're constantly in that experimentation mode of publishing to multiple channels. So not only are we learning more, we're reaching more people, and we're helping us, it's going to help inform our strategic choices moving forward. So yeah, just conscious whether that kind of T-shaped approach, like to you, Jordan, does that make sense? And of course, definitely keen on what people are saying in the chat as well.
Yeah, this is my strategy. This is what I do. And there are other folks that we work with at Adobe that do not do this and for
Mm-hmm.
all the reasons you said at the beginning, don't agree that this is the proper way to do it. So when we start demoing, we'll show ways to do both. This is I feel like this is my business mantra is like done is better than perfect, which means I do a lot of things that aren't perfect. And I think that's a pretty good example here where like for me, any downside is severely outweighed by any positive because of the resources that I have and because of just what my options are. Um, oh, hi, Gus. But I do think that it is really important to think about like if you're ignoring other platforms, that maybe is the time that this would be not the right move. Where, like, if you're posting things, like, say you're using a scheduler, which we will talk about, but then you're completely ignoring like any conversations that happen because you've you're just focusing on one, I would recommend not doing this if you're going to like not talk to anyone who talks to you there. I think that's the only time it's maybe a downside, is you're going to look like you're ignoring your community, which is not the move. But yeah.
Exactly. And I think like inbound comments are easier to manage than the other pieces, which is collaboration and engaging in other people's content, because we've all got notifications on our phone, and let's be honest, comments are not going to be flooding in typically, in the early days of a strategy. So yeah.
And great if it is, like, take advantage of that. If it is, stop whatever else you're doing and like have all those conversations. That's amazing.
Exactly. It answers the question about, okay, I know what channel I'm gonna double down on now. And I just thought I'm gonna quickly go through some of these kind of high level tips on some social channels before we go on to the demo. So I'm going to fly through some of this because I'm conscious of time. We said we're going to have loads of time.
We're doing great. And also, I feel like this is a question we get asked a lot. So I think this is great. And we've shared a lot of information in other videos and also today about which platforms you should be on. But I think going through these is also really helpful to just like, not everyone understands all platforms and what they're for. Really quickly, though, we did have a question from Blair about what program we suggest organizing content to schedule. And so Blair, we're going to show you how you can do it in Adobe Express. If you haven't checked it out, it is my favorite feature. So we're going to demo that in just a minute, but stay tuned because that's the whole thing.
We are definitely answering that question.
Yeah,
for sure. Right. Well, let's run through those 6 channels that we've been talking about throughout the course of this. And fortunately, we can go into quite a lot of detail today. So you keep me honest on time, Jordan.
I will. Yeah, we're great.
Cool. So Facebook, if we had to kind of call out what I believe it's best for, community building, Facebook groups, super strong still. Advertising is still super strong. And whilst I typically would have said Facebook is difficult for like organic growth, just posting to a feed and trying to generate followers, that tide is turning a little bit. I've spoken about it on previous social media updates and the news show that we run. The advent of Facebook Reels and the pivot of Facebook into what they call recommended content, i.e. you'll see more content in your Facebook feed that is not from people that you follow. Actually, just content has been recommended. That actually opens the door to more brands that don't have smaller businesses, rather, that have smaller followings, to actually reach more people than they actually follow. And that is an important part of it. So we're seeing much more organic growth happening on Facebook as a result of Reels. So Reels, super powerful, groups powerful, live streams always perform very well relative to other content. And again, I talk about this a lot, and obviously Jordan and I are very aligned on this, is thinking beyond your feed. There is a lot of collaboration opportunities. So going live with someone else, it's similar in a similar kind of way that we're doing today. Doing a collab, so working on a post together, and also what we saw in last week's social media news update, the kind of add yours sticker that you can start to add to your stories and your reels to encourage that collaboration. So they would be my kind of Facebook tips. I don't know if there's anything else you would add to that, Jordan, before we go
on. Just thinking about, I didn't think about this before until I heard you say all of them. It makes sense because they're owned by the same company, but I think you can use a lot of your Instagram strategy also on Facebook. So like 100%. If you would like to do the easiest version of like being, very keyed into 2 platforms, again, it makes sense because they're the same company, but a lot of the things you just mentioned for Facebook, you can also do on Instagram. So like, feel free to give yourself that break and do the same thing on both.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. It would, for me, it's a no-brainer because Facebook, Instagram are actively encouraging the cross-sharing of posts. So, it's a no-brainer. Takes on to Instagram very nicely. Right. Yeah, no surprise, Reels drives the most reach. We've been speaking about this lots over the previous live, so I don't need to go into it too much. Exactly the same with Facebook, same strategy, cross-post that content means you're going to grow on, across multiple platforms. Perfect example of exactly what we're talking about here. You will have seen, carousel posts, so your multi-image swipeable posts perform really well. So, kind of like a long form micro blogging type of content, looking through, your best practice tips and tricks. I mean, you're big on Instagram as well. So does that kind of, do you jive with these tips as well, or is there things that you recommend as well, Jordan?
I mean, I would have originally, like, the thing that's so strange about how social media evolves is like the version of all of this I had in my head before was like, okay, Instagram is for photos, Twitter is for text, Facebook is for like, personal connections. And now it's very strange because I was like, we didn't mention photos. And like, yeah, because that's kind of not the thing it's used for now, which is still, my brain's taking a little while to catch up. But the only other thing I will say for Instagram, I mean, I guess you said it, real life relationships. That's the thing, real life and also internet relationships. Like I have a lot of online friends and I have a lot of, community. For me, especially with my retail side hustle, it's great because I can see folks posting photos in the products that I make. And then, you do that a couple times, you get to know them. So Instagram for me is the best platform for building community that I have right now. I think it's because it's where a lot of my community is, but for me it's very easy to be like, oh, I recognize you, I see your face. It is very easy to like leave comments and actually talk to people and share other people's stuff in their stories. Like it's very good for community for me. That's my only other add.
100% agree with that. And it's that tutorial content works really well because it fits so nicely into community building, because you're adding value to people, giving them the top tips and takeaways, so someone doesn't have to read 2 pages of a blog just to get to the end to go, oh, here's my 3 actions I need to take. So it's those things, really, those types of content that's like really like snackable. Snackable is actually probably does the content format a disservice, where it's like super to the point, actionable stuff that people can swipe through and get the message within, either one single image or a swipeable series of them. So quick tutorials, infographics, and I've called out here using keywords as well. If you didn't join our live last week, we spoke about the increasing reach that you get from making sure you're using the right keywords in your captions. So the keywords related to your niche, the vertical that you work in, etc. Not moving away from hashtags necessarily, but don't hashtag stuff. I probably should have a don'ts in here. Like, we don't need 30 hashtags. We don't need to clutter our caption with that. Get to the point, maybe use a couple of well-chosen hashtags, but get to the point and really help your user and the viewer get what they need and get the value out of your content in the shortest time possible. That's the thing that's going to drive those interactions.
Which is perfect. Literally just had a question in the chat about hashtags versus keywords. So use both, but definitely pay attention to keywords. That was great.
Exactly. Love it. Perfect. Twitter tips are kind of a similar thing, because it's, your threads, microblogging is a thing that's working very well. I do have a bit of a word of caution around Twitter, is that if you're not, I say this quite a lot, but if you're not like big into Twitter right now, now is not the time to do it, in my view. There's too many moving parts with the acquisition, etc.
If you're trying to build a strategy, maybe don't start today. We'll be back with more tips later, depending on how things go.
It feels like building a house on a foundation of sand, building a strategy on Twitter right now. But if you're on Twitter, this isn't me saying you shouldn't be, because for those that have actually built followings, etc., there's still fantastic opportunities for brands on Twitter. Like I said, long form stuff, it's still the place where the kind of like viral stuff explodes as well, where brands get in with those key moments. And commenting on other content which is going viral is a great way to get noticed. And also, I think an important point here is that we haven't really spoken much about formats, because they all do the same thing, all the social platforms, to your point.
It's wild.
But the difference here, though, for Twitter is that they're the only ones that are majoring on audio-only content. So if you're a podcaster, then Twitter makes sense, because they've basically turned themselves into a podcast platform. So Twitter Spaces is going to be a great place if you're more comfortable not being on camera, but still like speaking and interviewing folk. Then Twitter is probably the best placed for, if that's your jam and if that's your comfort area. Then I think that's a key call out. Pinterest, I already touched on Pinterest actually, but like I said, super brand orientated, super inspiration led. We all know this. There's a lot of commerce things as well because it's so directly linked to, hey, I want inspiration on some product, etc. Give me some educational content around it, some ideas, things that are going to fuel my creativity, and then show me a suitable product to buy. It's a really lovely funnel that they've built in Pinterest. Pinterest is definitely requires a different thought process to the rest of the channels. Pinterest is one of those few that doesn't necessarily fit in every multi-channel publishing strategy because you need to consider it a bit more. Yes, things could be repurposed, like the Instagram stuff that we've just been speaking about, like the 5 takeaways that lives beautifully on Pinterest. The other upside of Pinterest is that it's the only social platform that is very much like not a walled garden. So if you search for something on Google, you're searching, inspirations for a spooky Halloween home, look in Google Images, you'll see Pinterest results. You're not seeing results from Instagram. So that's a really key point. If you're thinking you want to drive traffic to your site, Pinterest is one of the best for that. TikTok tips. We like TikTok. Have you spent much time on TikTok yet, Jordan?
No, because if anyone has caught up with our videos, I was in grad school for most of the past year, and so I was like, if I start this, there goes my life. So I've spent more time in the past couple weeks. I have spent lots of time, like much more time looking than making. I've made a few, and like I'm not thriving in content creation on TikTok, which absolutely I would have guessed for myself. Like, this is not my zone of genius, but I'm trying a little bit. So I don't know. We'll see where I land on it. Okay. we'll see.
Curious, anyone in the chat that's watching, how regularly people are posting on TikTok and whether people enjoy an experience, whether they're seeing growth, etc. I've personally loved it. I think it's grown. It surprised me how quickly an account can be grown on TikTok. Yeah, that's not going to happen forever, right? Because account growth will get slower. But it's not just growth that surprised me. It's also been the quality of conversations and interaction that I've seen in chat, which is really cool. So certainly feels that it's maturing to a stage where it definitely works quite well for business because, as you can expect, considering I'm quite a non-funny individual, that I don't do dancing or funny stuff. I do kind of business information.
Not at all.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, same.
Can you imagine? You've met me in person. Can you imagine? Yeah, no one wants to.
But also same here. Like that, when I first heard about it, I was like, okay, if TikTok is just dancing trends, I can't. Like, I just won't do it. There are other ways to be involved, which is lovely. And Sam is saying I posted to it constantly for like a month, but video content is hard to keep up with. It sure is. It sure is.
It sure is. There's no two ways about that. The tips, however, really like under 60 seconds because video completions are absolutely key. That's the thing that judges how much your content will be shared to other people, how far your content will go, is by how many times people complete it. So that means the hook matters. So what you're going to be talking about, this, like the thing that you need to know, it's really like, it's the video alternative to what we were talking about with the kind of Instagram micro-blogging type of stuff. Here's the stuff you need to know. Wait until I tell you step 5, it's going to blow your mind. Keeping people on that, it does mean, because the hooks sometimes feel a bit spammy because it's like trying to get people to watch to the end. So there's probably some underhand tactics happening there. But if you make your content good and valuable enough, then people will come back to it again and again. And I think the key thing that I learned from lots of mistakes earlier on, I was trying to cram too much into a video, speaking so quickly to try and get everything out of the way, and even within like 2 minutes. So I've actually just cut those videos down. It means you can create more content because it's just like a one takeaway, one insight per video. It means you can create content much quicker. You create shorter content, which ultimately, it works in in all elements, because you're going to get better content velocity, better video completions, and better reach as a result. LinkedIn,
This
final
is
one.
great because someone actually in the chat asked, like, I don't understand how LinkedIn can be used as a social network like other ones. And so here we go. This is,
Oh, wow.
it's
Well,
not like other social networks, I guess, but you can use it strategically to make connections and to communicate things.
well, how can I contextualize this shortly? Basically, in short, LinkedIn is more similar to the other social platforms than you might think. It works for every type of organization, but predominantly the thing to know about LinkedIn, it works so much better for personal brands or just individuals. Personal brands sometimes sounds a little bit off, so really individuals work really well. The best thing you can do on LinkedIn, turn your account into a creator account, turn on creator mode, basically, because that then removes the whole concept of
Yeah.
connecting, turns it into following, similar to other social channels. The stuff that works on Instagram works on LinkedIn too. If you had those kind of 5 takeaways, top tips, the people that are on LinkedIn are no different. We've already said that. They're people, if you get the right keywords in your content, LinkedIn search is super powerful. Lots of content discovery is driven by search, hence the reason making sure you've got the right keywords in your profile, super, super important. You'll see the stuff from my profile here, because that means that you get lots of profile visits. Educational content, helping people level up their game. Industry memes always work really well because people are in kind of work mode typically on LinkedIn. So, marketing is an easy one. Obviously, the industry that we kind of are in and around, all of the marketing memes do really well, like joking about brand versus performance marketers and all that stuff. So many industry memes. Quotes work really well. But I think the one of the key things, especially if you're trying to build your account early days, commenting is key. I've been so shocked as to how much LinkedIn promotes the fact you've commented on a post to other people. So I've seen me get more profile views from comments I've left on other people's content more than the posts I've created myself. So they're really trying to encourage as much interaction as possible, which, makes sense.
Great.
It should be
Yeah.
social.
Right.
So there is so much opportunity on LinkedIn right now. I'm very, very bullish on LinkedIn particularly, and TikTok. So if anyone wants to go deeper into that, hit me up on LinkedIn.
Right.
And I'm always happy to share as much insight as possible. Also, go into the insiders group. Right, 38 minutes of solid talking from me. Should we
You
bring
could
some
take
of
a
this
little
to
break.
life?
Yeah. And we're gonna demo in my Adobe Express. I'm also going to, I guess, out myself that I like to do things as easily as possible, as quickly as possible most of the time. So if you're looking for like a very design heavy demo, I'm never going to be your girl. I'm not a pro designer, which is why I love Adobe Express so much. Yeah, we can dive into my screen and I can share a few of these things in action. So this is the homepage of Adobe Express. We've given this tip before, but because designing on the fly is like not for me, and 2, I really like keeping things organized and also reusing as much as possible. So I have created libraries for some of my businesses, and also like just some templates that I like so that I don't have to find them all from scratch every time I sign in. So this is a hack. You can save either your own templates or templates that you've pulled from the app. So what we're going to talk about is a few different versions of how to schedule the same content to multiple channels, or slightly different content to multiple channels, and a few different workflows. Please stop me at any point if I'm doing something that's confusing, but I am going to sample this with I run a fashion challenge every season. And so I thought this was a fun way to show, like, this could be an event series, this could be a book club, this could be like a holiday market, whatever thing makes sense for your brand and business. But very first, I'm going to we're going to see if this works well for me today. I might have to go into my projects. not loving me yesterday. But we're going to create a square image to share on multiple platforms, because if you're just going to do one thing, that is the move. We're going to open it from here though. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any, like, is there any more insight into this, Andy, other than just like a square works on every platform? So if you're going to pick one, that's just the one.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway on this and why we're doing this approach first is that if you want to take the advice that we spoke about, where that kind of T-shaped approach to social, you want to actually experiment with how broad you want to put your message across. Of course, we can't put this on TikTok for obvious reasons, but actually
Right.
we want to go ahead and take this one post format and put it across all of them. Choosing a square is a really easy way to start, because one of the things that's often really confusing is like, oh, what's the right format? What's the right size to put it in? Do I need to optimize it? The reality is you don't actually, because Square obviously is optimized for Instagram, and Square looks good on every other platform as well. And there's a degree of optimization that happens as well once your Square post is published through Content Scheduler that we'll go on to. So this is what we're showing here is the quickest way to get this workflow done. So if you're a small business and you're like, I just want my content to go out to as many places as possible from a strategic perspective, this is the best and easiest, well, not the best, the easiest way to get that done. Does that make sense?
It does. And thank you so much. I was like, oh, I should have had an explanation on the fly. But this is just like, I have used, I mean, again, my little life hack. I run a fashion challenge every season. And so I made a template at the beginning of the year that I've just been remixing the colors, as you're going to see right now. I'm going to head over here to design assets and add something to make it a little spookier for the holidays. But I'm really into this like collage-y type look. I think that's one of the most fun things to do in Adobe Express is like, I don't know. I like that it looks like it's paper, even though it's purely digital.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
It was my summer template and now it's my fall template. And so this is something I can download it, but I'm going to go right into the schedule button over here. So if anyone has not seen this yet, this is the Adobe Express scheduler. I do have everything set up, except I guess one of these is, which one is this? Pinterest is broken. Must have been something that I got deactivated since last time I was on. But up here at the top, you can click into whichever social platforms you want to schedule to. And then you can add your caption, you can preview it. So for this square, we're going to choose Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we could
use
choose
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
This will look good on LinkedIn too.
Okay, great. And I am going to add a little caption. We can also add hashtags for Instagram in the first comments here. If you want hashtags on Twitter and Facebook, you can add them into the copy. So I'll have that ready to go. And for first comments, I'll just add, so you can see we have a few options, and this is going to go out today, which I don't want. If the challenge is running in October, I'll have it scheduled for like the end of September. I think that's it. Like, it's very easy. I always feel a little, when I'm demoing, I'm like, oh, it's literally just a couple buttons, but it's amazing. Am I missing something?
I think if you scroll down a bit, let's go on to
the preview.
Yeah, so
Great call.
I think this is always a good one to make sure, so you can see how it's going to look. So there's Facebook and Instagram. What was the first one actually?
Oh, so we have Twitter here. So yeah, a square works for all of them. Here's our Instagram preview, and it will give us the comments once it's posted, even though that's not here in the preview. And we have Facebook down here, and then LinkedIn.
So it's a perfect example, really. Like, we use one single square image, and like, the preview is just your way of just checking how that's going to look. So I think it's just a really nice way to save time and not have to worry too much about optimizing for each individual social channel. You can do that. We'll show you a way to do that. But if you want to go into kind of speed mode.
This is the way I do it. Like this is the way I do it. So I will show you a way that you can like level up your strategy, but this is my default. This is my move. So I'll just go ahead and schedule it. So anyone who hasn't seen the schedule can check it out. From our last demo. My scheduled post from the last video we did. But yeah, down here. So I set it for September 29th at 11:45 a.m. If I don't want them all to go out on the same day, it's really easy to move things around. If I decide I actually don't want this anymore, I can draft it or click and hit return to unscheduled, and it'll go over here. And then I can decide to reschedule it. So tons of options, which I think are amazing. And this is so helpful for me as a small business owner, that it's all in one place, which is amazing. Okay, Elizabeth just asked if you can add links to the posts, which is exactly what we're going to do next. I'm going to pull a link right from my blog right here and go back into, this is another like super easy way to do it. Over here from add new, if you're not starting from a project, you can add something here. And so if I type in this link and a little caption. Oops. So now we can see what it will look like on different platforms again with the preview option. So I'm going to hit Twitter, Facebook, and if I try to hit Instagram, it will, I guess
it will it won't let you do it.
Replace.
You'll notice that it says like add unscheduled post.
Okay, there we go.
So it's not going to go into a scheduled state.
So we'll show you the trick for Instagram.
You can use Twitter as well. LinkedIn, sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry.
LinkedIn.
Yep, yeah. Perfect. So I will preview this, which, I created the banner image in Adobe Express, but I didn't pull this project right from there. This is from a link. So we have what it looks like on Twitter, what it looks like on Facebook, what it looks like on LinkedIn. This is also great. Like, this is from my WordPress. So sometimes I forget to add the banner image, or it doesn't look like what I think it will, or I don't have the right dimensions. So this is a great way to see, especially if you're pulling links from your own page, like this is what it'll look like when I post it. Because sometimes you don't see it until afterwards, and that's not the best. And Keegan just asked in the chat, I've heard that Instagram sometimes penalizes accounts that use external schedulers, which I think we've gotten asked every single live. Do you want to comment on that while I schedule this and pull up the next one?
Yeah, it's not actually true. There's been some independent studies on this, which I'm happy to share. But yeah, that it's a fallacy. I'm not too sure where it all stemmed from, but not strictly true, based on independent research that we've seen on it. And it's not in their interest whatsoever to have partners that are third-party tools, because they want as much content on their platform as possible. There's obviously a bunch of rules we have to abide by to minimize spam and that kind of stuff, which we do. But fundamentally, the platforms want content. It's not in their interest to not make it go far, because they'll know that people won't return to create more content if it's not going anywhere. So hopefully that answers to some degree. But yes, if I had $1,
right. I knew you'd have an answer on the go. So we skipped Instagram for the last one, and just quickly, I wanted to show, if you want to add a link for Instagram, what you can do is choose a square image. of your choosing, and then in the first comment, add a link. So you can click out from that. But that is just a nice way to do that. I'm just gonna draft it for now. And we have another question. How many channels can you connect to? Well, I go back into this project actually.
So 5 you can connect to straight off the bat: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Pinterest. So hopefully there'll be a 6th on the way soon.
Yeah.
Working on TikTok, which will be very cool, but more to come on that.
Awesome. So this is, I'm going to, for, you know, I always go into, I post a reminder every week. So same thing, I'm just going to change my colors quickly. But this, I mean, this is a real life example. This is exactly how I do this for my life and business. And again, I try to make this as easy as possible. So I pick a consistent color scheme. I basically just swap it out each time. And I don't have a video. Someone's asking, does this work for videos? I demoed that in our last one. I don't have one with me to show off at this moment, but you can schedule videos also.
Yeah, I think there's I can't remember when we last covered this, but it's probably an interesting call out for videos specifically, because you can use animations in Adobe Express to take like a piece of content that Jordan is working on right now, take something like this and animate components of it, which then turns it into a video file, which actually is quite a nice way of not only just bringing your content to life, it'll also be posted as a reel. And that kind of short video is, as we know, performing really well on Instagram. So I'm glad you asked the question, actually, because it's a really good approach to taking your static content, making it visual, making it animated, and then using that to your benefit when you're scheduling that out in the content scheduler area. And once it's published to social channels, then typically on Instagram, that will perform better than a static image, because we know that Instagram and Facebook are really prioritizing short form video at the moment. Hopefully that makes some sense.
Yeah, I'm going to show this very quickly. I used our multiple pages option. So basically just started with the square and then duplicated it into a landscape. Landscape. Yep. And then duplicated it into a portrait. So if you want to schedule, this is like the level up version, you can schedule each individual. So this would be, my Pinterest is, I guess, not connected now, but you could schedule this for Pinterest and then go back into your project, go to this page and schedule this for Facebook and Twitter, since it's the right size, which is just like a nice way to level up that workflow. They're all right here, so you can just go into each individual size and schedule for that platform. I'm going to show one more thing really quickly, which is that you can duplicate posts. So this is like week 1 is starting, and say that I want to do a reminder of like 1 day left. I can duplicate the post right here. Last day to join, and change the date.
Choose multiple channels at that point as well.
Yeah, right. Totally. You can go back into Facebook and duplicate it for whatever you want. So that was a very very rushed version. I'm sorry. But it is actually that easy. Like it's not a super complicated workflow, because you can just, you can literally move things around. You can schedule the same thing multiple times. You can schedule different things. Like I said, you can return something to unscheduled. You can duplicate it. You can make it a draft, which I should do for all of these, because I have been posting all of the things I've been demoing. So that's been very fun. But Yeah, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to join us in the Adobe Express Insiders Facebook group. We'll answer any questions you have if you have anything between now and our next video. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you do use Scheduler, like please let us know in the Facebook group or in the comments on any of these videos. I love seeing that the stuff we do is really helping people. So would love to chat with you.
Definitely. And I'm always super keen to hear feedback as well. Like, what are the things that you're bumping into that could be better? What features do you need? We're in the process of continually, well, we're not in the process of, we're continually developing content scheduler. So yeah, we are all ears. So hopefully it's been useful, but thank you so much for the demo, Jordan. That was awesome at bringing the strategy to life. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I forgot this was in the intro slide, but you can find us all over the internet too. So I am at Jordan Danae Ellis on every platform, and you are Andy R. Lambert, right?
You got it.
Okay, cool. So feel free to chat with us. Please subscribe to the Adobe Express YouTube and hang out for the next video. And we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.